Hello, it's great to see you all again. Today, we're going to bring back to life a 9V battery that seemed completely dead. Got an old 9V battery lying around in a drawer? Don't throw it away just yet, because with a few simple tricks and a bit of creativity, we can make it work again. Get your multimeter and a charger ready, and let's dive in together. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any awesome DIY ideas. When a 9V battery seems dead, it might actually just be in a deep discharge state. And here's the surprising part. Under the right conditions, it can still be revived. Let's grab a multimeter and check the battery's voltage. This quick test will tell us whether it's completely drained or still got some life left in it. Using a multimeter, I checked the battery's voltage, and it read 0 volts. That means it's completely drained and definitely can't supply the tiny bit of energy. This usually happens when a battery has been left in use for a long time or pushed beyond its typical usage cycle. However, that doesn't always mean it's the end. With the right steps, there's still a chance to bring it back. All right, now that we've confirmed the battery is completely drained, let's move on to the fun part, trying to bring it back to life. Let's start the restoration process step by step and see if we can give this dead battery a second chance. Now I'm going to set up a custom charger to help recharge this battery. Take 2 small jumper wires like these. They don't need to be thick, just enough to handle a low current since we're working with a small 9V battery. These will connect the battery to our charging source. Here, I prepared 2 types of wires, one black and one red. The black wire will be used for the negative terminal, and the red wire for the positive terminal. Using color-coded wires like this helps avoid confusion and ensures correct polarity when connecting the battery to the charger. Next, I'm going to connect the 2 wire ends to the terminals of the battery. Now I'm going to add some hot glue to create a mold. I'll squeeze the hot glue until it fully covers both terminals and forms a snug mold that fits perfectly over the top of the battery. Once the glue cools and hardens, it will hold its shape firmly while still allowing us to remove or reattach it as needed. Once the glue is fully dried and hardened, I'll carefully remove the molded piece. At this point, it should come off as a single, solid form that retains the shape of the battery's terminals. This makes it easier to reattach later, almost like a custom charging cap. The wires are now embedded securely inside the glue, creating a simple but effective DIY connector. Now I'll trim off the excess glue around the outside. Using a small knife or scissors, I'll carefully shape the mold, removing any rough or bulky edges to make it cleaner and more compact. Next, I'm going to adjust the wires. I'll straighten them out and position them so they're neat and not tangled. This also makes it easier to connect them to the charging source. If needed, I'll bend them slightly to fit the shape of the mold or trim the ends to keep everything tidy and functional. Clean wiring not only looks better, but also helps ensure a more stable connection. I'll carefully strip the insulation off the charger's wires, exposing about 2 centimeters of clean copper. This will give us a solid contact point for connecting to the DIY charging cap. I'll make sure the copper strands stay intact and neat, ensuring a stable and reliable connection during the charging process. Next, I'll use heat shrink tubing to cover the connection between the battery cap and the charger wires. This will help insulate and protect the joint, preventing short circuits and adding durability. After sliding the tubing over the connection, I'll apply heat to shrink it tightly around the wires, creating a clean, secure finish. Now I'll connect the 2 wires of the same color together, red to red positive and black to black negative. This ensures correct polarity and a safe charging setup. I'll do the same with the black wire. And just like that, I've finished making a custom charger for this 9V battery. With secure connections, proper insulation, and correct polarity, it's now ready to attempt recharging the drained battery. Let's see if we can bring it back to life. After charging, the battery looks the same on the outside, but there's a noticeable difference in performance. Using the multimeter, I can now see that the voltage has risen, a clear sign that the battery has regained some of its charge. It's no longer completely dead and may be usable for low-power applications. The voltage reading now shows 9.57 volts, a strong sign that the battery has successfully taken a charge. When I connect the battery to a small cooling fan, it immediately starts spinning smoothly. The fan runs steadily, showing that the battery is delivering consistent power. There's no flickering or hesitation, which means the voltage is strong enough to drive the load. It's a great sign that the restoration process worked. This once dead battery is now powering a real device again. Now that we successfully revived the first battery using a simple DIY charger, let's move on to the second trick. Ready to explore another way to bring a dead 9V battery back to life? Let's get started. Here we have a 9V battery with a visibly worn and dirty exterior. The surface is covered in dust and a few dark stains, making it look like it's been sitting in use for quite some time, maybe at the bottom of a toolbox or drawer. This one also shows no voltage when tested. It's completely flat, just like the first battery. It appears to be fully drained. We can bring it back with a different approach. Let's give it a try. Now I'm going to take this battery apart. I'm opening the battery to remove the top cap with the two terminals. This metal cap is the part that connects the devices and chargers, and we can reuse it for future DIY projects. Like making custom battery connectors or even turning it into a charging adapter, just like we did earlier. Let's carefully detach it without damaging the terminals. Now I'm going to solder two wires onto the battery's terminals. I'll attach one wire to the positive terminal and the other to the negative, making sure the solder joints are solid and secure. This will turn the battery cap into a reusable connector. I prepared a toggle switch here. This small switch will allow us to easily control the flow of electricity, turning the circuit on or off with a simple press. Now I'm going to connect the wires to the toggle switch. The wires from the battery cap and toggle switch will be linked directly to the fan's power leads. Once connected, flipping the switch should allow current to flow and power the fan, a simple and effective way to test the circuit and repurpose the battery cap into a functional power supply. I'll also cover the solder joints with heat shrink tubing. After sliding the tubing into place, I'll gently heat it so it shrinks tightly around the joints. giving a clean and professional finish. Next, I'm going to secure all the components onto the cooling fan. I'll use zip ties to secure the wires in place. By bundling and tightening them along the fan's frame, the zip ties help keep the wiring neat and prevent it from getting tangled or pulled loose during use. I'll attach the battery cap, toggle switch, and wires neatly on top or along the sides of the fan using hot glue or double-sided tape. For the final step, I'm going to insert a fresh 9V battery into the connector on the fan. Once it's plugged in, I'll flip the toggle switch. And just like that, the fan powers on instantly. Everything is now securely in place and working as intended. This DIY setup turns a few basic components into a simple, portable cooling system powered by a 9V battery. This small cooling fan is compact and lightweight, typically used for electronics or DIY ventilation setups. It features a square plastic frame with 4 mounting holes at the corners, allowing it to be easily attached to various surfaces. At the center is a circular rotor with multiple thin blades that spin rapidly to generate airflow. Even when a 9V battery appears completely drained with 0 voltage or a dirty, worn exterior, it doesn't always mean it's useless. Through simple DIY methods, like building a basic charger or repurposing parts such as a battery cap, we can often bring these batteries back to life or give them a second purpose. Whether reviving them for reuse or turning them into power connectors for small devices like fans, this approach saves money, reduces waste, and makes for a fun and practical DIY experience. So next time you find an old 9V battery,